Hold on a second. Fix myself. Okay. Amazing. And make sure we're live on YouTube. Oh. Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ticket Mel. And there's going to be a press conference. I don't know where, but there's going to be a press conference. I set myself a couple of videos this morning that I thought would be interesting for us to watch. I haven't pulled them up yet. I'm pulling it up now. And the latest update with the submarine thing is that I guess they had heard sounds or something, but I don't know, because I saw a tweet from the Canadian people that they sent the ROV. I think, oh, is that remote? I don't know, whatever, ROV, right? Whatever they call it, to go check it out, and they didn't find anything though. Let me start this here. And then a couple people too were talking to me about the trial. You know, I got a couple of messages this morning. You gave up. You gave up on the trial. Kinda. Not really. I mean, I was thinking we could do, like I said yesterday, I think we could try doing recaps in the evening. I heard today wasn't that. There was a back and forth with the lawyers, which I heard was spicy, but for a majority of it, I heard it's a lot of breaks. It's kind of boring, so I just don't want to subject this to something I'm not really too sure about. So, okay. Let me put this up while I kind of get myself situated. Get myself situated. Oh, and I forgot the countdown timer, which they're saying this is how much oxygen they have left. So they went on this homemade submarine. I think it was Sunday, about an hour and like 49 minutes or 50 minutes into the submarine descending. They lost contact with the mothership. The mothership didn't report them missing till 8 hours later to the Coast Guard. So, and they only have a certain amount of oxygen left in there. So, oh, and by the way, sorry, I'm a little scattered. I mean, you guys are probably used to that by now, right? 10 to Life's channel got hacked. I made a community post. Somebody tweeted me on Twitter this morning, and I was like, what? 10 to Life. Let me cover this first real quick. I made a community post, so make sure you go check it out either now, during the stream, or after the stream. And I was texting her, and she was telling me that, hey, do you mind letting your subs know that my 10 to Life YouTube account got hacked? I'm working to recover it, so no need to unsubscribe, but please tell them to sub to my backup channel, Annalise Diaries, in the meantime. Do not click on any links in the hacker videos. So her channel, and she told me too, because I was like, have you tried to recover it? And she told me that apparently, thank you, Diggs, ROV, remote operator vehicles. She told me that she can't recover it. They turned on a new two-way verification. So they went through the lengths to change the verification and update it or whatever, and they've been posting content all day long on the channel. Boom, boom. Been posting a bunch of videos all day long. Roblox, my daughter probably like that. Roblox, Adobe. I'm not sure what's the goal of these people for posting all this shit. I don't know if they're trying to promote something. Oh, they got links. So these and they're turning off the comments. These links probably have viruses and stuff like that. So just be really careful. Yeah, don't click the links. Don't download anything that's being posted on there. She told me she has some sort of contact or somebody at YouTube, so she's working with them. I told her to tweet it out, but I don't think she's tweeted it yet. So for whoever watches 10 to Life, just so you know, that's what's going on. All right. And I'm pretty confident she'll get her channel back, no problem, once she is able to talk to YouTube and whatever. Like this kind of stuff happens all the time. Even if they deleted all her videos, which they didn't, which I think is nice. I think they have a way to recover, even if somebody were to wipe the channel. So, all right, let me, her backup channel, let's see. Annalise Diaries. I'll put the links in the description. I'm going to do that while I play this.
We were hearing about tapping noises.
Every half an hour.
Sources close to GB News are now telling us that it was an SOS. That is interesting. SOS is effectively a Morse code distress signal. So, you know, over the last few hours, we were hearing about tapping noises.
Every half an hour.
Sources close to GB News are now telling us that it was an SOS. That is interesting. SOS is effectively a Morse code distress signal. So that puts more detail on it, not just tapping, but if it was an SOS, then that shows that the passengers on board the submersible are still very much alive.
And can they be certain
and are calling for help?
Can they be certain they're from the submersible? This
is what we are understanding is happening. There are regular taps, an SOS signal is being sent, a distress signal. So that gives some hope, because that clock is now ticking down. 24 hours oxygen supply is left, rather. Maybe even not even that now.
And any indication about how deep down the submersible is?
Right. We also are hearing from our sources that last night 2 vehicles were sent down to where the submersible could be. Now, those vehicles could only go to 3,000 meters. The submersible, if it is on the seabed, is more like...
Because I was wondering, it's possible that somehow this thing is all the way in the bottom of the ocean. There's a lot of stuff that I was sent last night and this morning that I have to go through. It's going to take me a bit. The main thing is I want to... Oh, thank you. This is perfect. It's what I was looking for. Thanks, Flossie. Okay. So I have the press thing loaded up on the side. They haven't started. It's just a loading screen. Oh, wait. But if I do that, that messes up your screen. My bad. Oops. I'll just keep it over here. Or Flossie or the mods. Anyone, you guys can keep an eye on that for me. I have a lot of screens up. Okay. But yeah, I was thinking, like, I don't know if these people are at the bottom of the ocean stuck. I mean, the theory I think, which is really, I think that probably it imploded. There was some type of leak. But one of the other theories that people were talking about is that maybe this thing got tangled into the wreckage of the Titanic. There was a video, one of the videos that I'm going to play, there was this guy talking about that there's just a bunch of stuff around that ship that you could easily get caught up in. So maybe they got stuck by the wreckage of the Titanic. And the thing is, like we've been covering, a lot of these ships or a lot of these ROVs, these subs, whatever, they don't go down to that depth. I don't even know if they really know how they're going to recover this thing. If they do find it, can they even recover the submarine? I think the CEO is in there too, that ship. There's some interesting videos I found this morning that we're going to get into.
Like at 3,800 meters. They couldn't get below that. These vehicles both imploded.
Oh, God.
When they tried to,
They weren't
This
manned,
shows how
though.
complex and how difficult this is. We are also understanding that wives of the passengers, I don't know how many of them, whether it's 2 wives, 3 wives, because there's 5 passengers on board. But there are wives waiting on a ship for their loved ones, desperately hoping for good news. Now, what is also interesting, sorry, got lots to tell you here. There is a British firm called Magella. Now, they say they
Happy birthday, Ashley, and thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day today. Amazing.
Ready to help. They are very much on standby. They are working full-time to secure the necessary air support to move their specialist equipment and support crew to the North Atlantic. Now, Magellan have what's called these ROVs, these remotely operated vehicles. They can go as far down as 6,000 meters. That's crucial. if the submersible's at 3,800.
The Titanic, I think they said is 2.5 miles down into the ocean, which that comes out to, I forgot how many meters again. 2.4 miles into meters. 3,800. And the other thing too I heard about those ROV things is like their line of their visibility, what they can see is not that great either. So they, even if it's there, they could struggle even trying to find it.
But there seems to be a bit of a dispute going on because there are claims, we understand, that the US Coast Guard, for some reason, has not yet approved their involvement.
Right. Because apparently, my understanding, and like I said, this is very much breaking news, and it is exclusive to GB News through a contact of the channel. Both of these deep water salvage companies, Ocean Infinity and Magellan.
Thank you. So I have two backups for the feeds here. I have them open. You guys just let me know when they actually start. I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but in case I miss it when it starts, let me know.
Equipment could have been flown over by C-17 US military transport. As you say, Pip, the US Coast Guard said they wouldn't endorse that, but now we understand that Biden is involved, the President of America is involved as to whether these resources can be enacted.
Just get on with it.
Captain Frederick, response coordinator of the 1st Coast Guard District.
Let me bump up the volume.
I'll be giving a brief statement
for you guys.
Followed by about 10 minutes for questions and answers. Thank you so much again.
Not the best volume.
Introduce Captain Frederick.
Let me try another.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Captain Jamie Frederick with the 1st Coast Guard District, and I'll provide an update on our ongoing search efforts for the Titan submarine. Behind me, or beside Good me, afternoon, everyone. I'm Captain Jamie Frederick with the 1st Coast Guard District, and I'll provide an update on our ongoing search efforts for the Titan submarine. Behind me, or beside me, I should say, you'll see several subject matter experts from the Unified Command who will introduce themselves momentarily. These individuals represent only a small fraction of the many dedicated professionals working around the clock on this complex response effort. We understand this is an extremely difficult time for the families of the missing crew members aboard the Titan, and our thoughts go out to them and the crew. The Unified Command team is working tirelessly to bring all available assets and expertise to bear as quickly as possible in response to this complex operation. And we remain in close contact with the family members and the crew to ensure they are fully aware of our current and future search efforts. Additionally, we have been in close contact with the British and French Consulates General to ensure that they are fully appraised of our efforts, and we are ensuring that their concerns are being addressed. We're incredibly grateful for the full spectrum of international assistance that has been provided, including an expert submariner from the Royal Navy, who's here with us serving aboard as a critical member of our team. Additionally, a team of highly trained French ROV operators departed St. John's last night are en route to aid the search. Moreover, our Canadian partners have been providing critical leadership and significant response capabilities since the beginning of our efforts. Again, this is an incredibly complex search operation requiring both surface and subsurface elements, and our unified approach is critical. The location of the search, 900 miles east of Cape Cod and 400 miles southeast of St. John's, makes it exceptionally difficult to mobilize large amounts of equipment quickly. In spite of those challenges, we've been able to provide continuous air and surface search assets, as well as additional ROV capability to search below the surface. We currently have 5 surface assets searching for the Titan, and we expect 10 total surface assets to search in the next 24 to 48 hours. There are 2 ROVs actively searching, and several more are en route and will arrive by tomorrow morning. We've received incredible support with aviation assets from our Coast Guard Air Station in Elizabeth City, the Air National Guard, and Canadian Armed Forces. Today there are 2 back-to-back P3 flights. One is ongoing now as I speak, totaling 14 hours of continuous on-scene coverage and 2 C-130 flights, also one ongoing now, throughout the day and into the evening. Yesterday, a Canadian P-3 detected underwater noises in the search area. As a result, ROV operations were relocated in an attempt to explore the origin of the noises. Although the ROV searches have yielded negative results, they continue. Additionally, the data from the P-3 aircraft has been shared with our U.S. Navy experts for further analysis, which will be considered in future search plans. The surface search is now approximately 2 times the size of Connecticut, and the subsurface search is up to 2.5 miles deep, exponentially expanding the size of the search area. We also have to factor in the ever-changing weather conditions, currents, and sea states that expand the search area every hour. There's an enormous complexity associated with this case due to the location being so far offshore, and the coordination between multiple agencies and nations. We greatly appreciate the outpouring of support and offers to provide additional equipment. The Unified Command continues to prioritize assets and resources in order to provide the best capability in the most timely manner. This includes weighing multiple factors to identify the most effective resources available to the response operation. With careful consideration to timeliness of equipment arriving on scene, usefulness and ability to deliver assets to the search area. Over the past 48 hours, we have, through incredible unity of effort, mobilized and implemented a tremendous amount of expertise and response capability. In addition to the ships and aircraft previously mentioned, we've dispatched 2 subject matter experts from U.S. Navy NAVSEA SUPSALV, who will serve as search coordinators on scene for underwater search operations. So I've been stressing unity of effort a lot in this statement, and that's because it is absolutely critical to this complex operation. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the crew of the Titan and their loved ones. We will continue to work as hard and as quickly as possible in an effort to locate them. I will take a few questions, but before I do that, I do want I'm going to have each of the members of the team here just introduce themselves, and then I'll go ahead and take some questions.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Paul Hankins. I'm the Director for Salvage Operations with the U.S. Navy's Supervisor of Salvage.
Hello, I'm Carl Hartsfield from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Commander Rich Cantharia. I'm an exchange officer currently serving on the staff of Commander Submarines Atlantic at Norfolk, Virginia.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Commander Christy Butler, working closely with Captain Frederick from RCC Boston, Search and Rescue Mission Coordinator. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. So a couple things. One, I think when you're in the middle of a search and rescue case, you always have hope. That's why we're doing what we do. With respect to the noises specifically, we don't know what they are, to be frank with you. The P-3 detected noises. That's why they're up there. That's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they put sonar buoys in the water. The good news is, what I can tell you is we're searching in the area where the noises were detected, and we'll continue to do so. And we hope that when we're able to get additional ROVs, which will be there in the morning, the intent will be to continue to search in those areas where the noises were detected, and if they're continuing to be detected, and then put additional ROVs down in the last known position where the search was originally taking place.
Yeah, these noises were coming in regular 30-minute intervals as reported.
I hadn't heard 30-minute intervals. So here's what I can tell you. I am not a trained ear for underwater aquatics. That's why we have a team of experts that are analyzing that data. That data was sent immediately to the Navy last night, and it was analyzed overnight. They're still looking at it, but I can tell you that it's inconclusive. But again, I think the important piece is we're searching in the area where the noises were detected.
Captain, you didn't talk about a timeline. Can you talk about what timeline you're working on in conjunction with the teams that are there?
It's a timeline in what respect?
How much oxygen they have left on?
Oh, okay. Well, in terms of, so we talked about the oxygen number. I think you're all tracking the oxygen number. I think there's an important point with that, though. The oxygen, that's just one piece of data, right? There are a lot of pieces of data that we need to consider. And, we're continuously looking at that, and we'll continuously, do that throughout the search. but that's not the only thing that's important, right? And right now our efforts are solely focused on the search. That certainly is a dialogue that's happening, but we're focused on searching at this point.
And this is a recovery or a rescue?
Oh, this is a search and rescue mission, 100%. We are smack dab in the middle of search and rescue, and we'll continue to put every available asset that we have in an effort to find the Titan and the crew members.
Captain, are those ROVs, and can you confirm that some sort of rectangular object has been spotted? There was some sort of report about that, I don't know.
So a couple things. So the ROVs, each ROV brings different capability. The ROVs that are diving today, Paul, what's the depth on the 4,000 meters. 4,000 meters. And some additional ROVs that'll be arriving tomorrow have additional depth capability. With respect to an object, so yesterday one of the aircraft did see an object. I will tell you this: in search and rescue missions, when aircraft are flying continuously, there is stuff out in the ocean that is floating. We went back, we looked at it. It wasn't. We didn't determine it to be debris. We don't think it correlates with the case, and it is not uncommon at all during an active search to see things, and then we go and look at them. So.
Just on BBC News, when were these noises first heard? How long did they persist for? And if I could also ask, do you have any information in terms of food and water that they might have on board this time?
Yeah. So so several P3 flights have heard noises as yesterday, and we put assets there. We relocated assets immediately. With respect to food and water, it's my understanding there are some limited rations. I can't tell you exactly how much they have aboard, but they do have some limited rations aboard the vessel.
Speaking to the families, how much hope can you give them after hearing those noises?
Listen, I think you need to be careful. We need to have hope, right? But I can't tell you what the noises are. But what I can tell you is, and I think this is the most important point, we're searching where the noises are, and that's all we can do at this point.
Captain, there's clue right now about the status of the submersible and the noises, and are the noises continuing now at those spots?
So I just wanted to. So it was my understanding that the P3 had heard some noises today as well. But so I do want to take just an opportunity to invite Carl to the podium just to talk a little bit about. He has a little bit more expertise in underwater acoustics, and maybe just to speak to that in general, because again, there are noises below the surface of the ocean, and so I'll just turn it to Carl.
Carl, can you spell your name? Yes, Carl Hartsfield. So again, Carl Hartsfield from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. So the ocean is a very complex place. Obviously, human sounds, nature sounds, and it's very difficult to discern what the source of those noises are at times. But I can tell you that this team has multiple sensors. They're in the area. They're sending data back expeditiously to the best in the world people to analyze that data, and then they're feeding the results of that analysis back to the unified team, and they're making decisions. So Woods Hole is here in an advisory role, but by our expertise, what I see is a very tight operational loop that's making decisions based on data, and nothing is ruled out. There have been multiple reports of noises, and every one of those noises is being analyzed, tracked, looked for patterns, and reported upon.
Can you describe what the noise? Can you describe what the noise sounds like that they're hearing?
Well, you know, the noises, again, very complex in the ocean. You have to be an acoustic analysis, and you have to have context. They're trying to put all the pieces together. The noises have been described as banging noises. But again, they have to put the whole picture together in context, and they have to eliminate potential man-made sources other than the Titan.
Is it possible that a ship in the ocean, or even some mammals out there could mimic that kind of sound?
So I can tell you from my experience with acoustics that there are sounds by biologics that sound man-made to the untrained ear, but I can assure you that the people listening to these tapes are trained. There are a lot of vessels in the area, and they each make noise, right? So all of that has to be eliminated, and it's analysis over time. Plus, as the captain said, the team is searching in the right area. So if you continue to do the analysis, look for different patterns, and search in the right area, you're doing the best you possibly can do with the best people on the case.
And Captain, apparently there was a deep ocean salvage system flyway that was sent there to the location. Can you tell if it's on site yet, and how it operates, and how long it would take to rescue it? Would that take?
Which system is he speaking about? You know the system. What's the system that you're talking about?
Flyway deep ocean salvage system.
That's just a hydraulic.
Yeah.
A crane.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. So that's a piece of equipment. It's a crane piece of equipment. There are a lot of pieces of equipment flowing in through St. John's right now. One thing I did want to mention, I think it's important. Some of the ROV capability that's arriving soon is really great, incredible capability. One thing I want to point out is that French team that's coming in to serve aboard with their equipment aboard a French ship. They bring some state-of-the-art equipment, and so once they get on, we're going to have more assets down to look, and we'll continue to put them where we think the best location is.
The search area expanded. How many days passed? Are you still optimistic that you're gonna find them?
So how many days? Did you ask how many days? So
How many days?
well, so we have to remain optimistic and hopeful when you're in a search and rescue case. So we're right in the middle of the search and rescue case. So I don't want to get into a discussion about when that would end with respect to this case. What I will tell you, though, I'm happy to explain to you kind of how that process were to work. The Coast Guard prosecutes search and rescue cases on a daily basis, and sometimes we don't find what we're looking for, and you have to carefully consider all of the factors, and there are a lot of factors you consider. And then after you consider all of those factors, sometimes you're in a position where you have to make a tough decision. We're not there yet. But if we continue to search, potentially we could be at that point. But again, we're not there yet. And that's a discussion that we will have with the family long before I'm going to discuss that here publicly.
What does the rescue operation look like? What does the rescue operation look like?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Yeah, so I can't put a number on the I'm not going to put a percent. I don't have a percentage number. What I would tell you is that is just one data point, and there are more data points than that we have to look at. So right now we continue to search, and we'll have that later. Sure. So the report. So the noises were heard by a Canadian P3, and that was this morning and some yesterday. I don't know specifically or they're 30-minute intervals, but again, I really think the important point to that is we're in the air, we're searching there. We moved assets and we're searching there, and we'll continue to do so.
What would the rescue operation look like?
Go ahead.
And I don't know if you mentioned this yet, but is the vessel itself, what's the likelihood that it's actually still operable at this time, the vessel itself?
Yeah, I don't. So listen, whether it's operable or whether it's sitting on the ocean floor, whether it's in the sea column, whether it's in the surface, it's all speculation, and we're just not in the business of speculation. We're in the business of searching, and we're putting everything we can with the data we have to search for the vessel. And I think we'll take one more question. Go ahead, sorry.
A bit more about the role of the Navy and the assistance being provided as well as
Yeah. So we asked for some additional subsurface support, and we got that through the Navy, through a liaison officer. He's just one of many team members, and we're greatly appreciative of the British government and all the support they've given us.
Can we expect a daily update now on this?
So I think the plan will be to do a daily like this. I'm not going to lock into that right now, but we'll keep you informed, and certainly if there's any major developments, we'll let you know. Thank you very much.
Really, did you say submarine, sir? Are you saying submarines are assisting?
Thank you so much for attending today's press briefing. That will
Royal
conclude
Navy
all
submarine
questions.
assisting?
Thank you.
Whatever.
He said subsurface, right?
No.
What does that mean? They say no?
Tom said no.
Shit, I'm muted. Wow. No! I said so much ish. Okay, let me start again. Thank you guys for telling me in the chat. I have a bunch of stuff to talk about. I have a bunch of video clips, screenshots, whatever, this and that. So we got quite a bit to talk about, so don't leave yet. Subscribe, hit the like button, subscribe if you don't mind. Also, remember from the beginning of the stream, I mentioned that 10 to Life was hacked. Her YouTube account hacked. So I put the links in the description of this video. Also, my community tab to go subscribe to her backup channel, and also don't unsub from her main channel. She's working on getting that back. So there's a bunch of videos being posted on there. The other thing too is do not click the links in those videos that whoever hacked her account is posting, because it seems like it probably has malware, some sort of hack or something. They'll probably get your information. So don't click those links. She's working with somebody. She has somebody that knows somebody at YouTube or something like that. So she's trying to get her things back. So yeah, just bear with her for that. Send her love, because she's been really nice to me and to the channel when she didn't have to be at all. She's posted me a couple of times, I think. So yeah, but I'm confident she's gonna get her stuff back. I mean, this stuff happens all the time. They haven't deleted her videos, which is nice. I'm surprised they didn't do that. They didn't delete her videos. And even if they did, you could still get it back. I don't know how hard it is, but she could still get it back. But it would be, be a setback for her. So yeah. So, all right. So a couple of things. So I have this interesting thing. And I feel bad because this stuff is so grim for these people on that boat. I mean, not boat, the submarine, the submersible. I found some really interesting videos, lots of different conversations. There was even apparently a previous lawsuit. There was somebody that was trying to, I think a previous employee of this Ocean Gate submarine, I believe they tried to sue the CEO because they were concerned about safety. And we'll get to that if I find it. It's all over the place. But check this out. So I asked my ex-boyfriend his thoughts. He's in the Navy, was on a submarine for years, and he had this to say. Honestly, they're effed. The whole idea of a submarine rescue is a joke. We all knew if we went down, we're not coming back up. The USCG, the United States Coast Guard, does not do sub-rescue. The Navy does, but not at 10,000 feet. Sub-rescue was just something we were told could be done so politicians and parents would think it was safe. It's sad, but those folks are already dead. Wow. There was another screenshot too that I had. There's JB. Where did I go? Amazing, it's gone. Oh, another thing I had to read to the person that sent me that screenshot. Thank you for telling me that. The person that sent me that screenshot, she told me too that she said her uncle went missing in World War II, in a World War II submarine, and to this day he's never been found. All these windows. That's what we're watching. All right, let me start off with this. Let me see. There was one I thought was interesting. Okay. Okay, here we go. We'll start with this. There was a couple interesting ones that I skimmed this morning.
Ongoing efforts. I'm joined by retired U.S. Navy Captain William Toty now. He served more than 25 years in the Navy. I appreciate you being with us. You know, I'm learning a lot about the submersible industry right now and some of these deep dives. I think we all are. I kept asking, why wasn't there a backup to the backup to the backup? And you seem to highlight the lack of pre-planning in case of a catastrophe. Can you explain your thoughts on what we know so far?
That's right, Marnie. Sometimes in these experimental systems, the submersible is treated as if it's a standalone, when actually it needs to be part of a larger system where you've pre-planned what happens in a casualty.
And when I was watching one of these videos too, the way they described this thing, like with these submersibles, that, I mean, basically, and I think with this submarine, they just have some weights. With this submarine, I think it was like, I forgot the name of it. It was like these heavy pipes or something. They literally put on some metal weights on there to bring the submarine down to the ocean level. And when they're ready to come back up, they just release it and it comes back up. The other thing, too, people were talking about is the CO2, carbon dioxide scrubbers, the CO2 scrubbers, that if that stops working, eventually you're going to die. If there's not being, the carbon monoxide is not being, not monoxide, dioxide, right? Dioxide being filtered.
And you stage systems that you're going to need in case that casualty occurs, where you have processes and people in place who've rehearsed recovery efforts and things like that. And a lot of times, just to save money and time, the companies that build these things bypass what are normal safeguards. And that's a problem that's not limited to this situation, but it seems to have happened here.
So we're hearing the phrase deep ocean salvage system, some of the technology and equipment they're using if they in fact find it to bring it safely to the surface. What exactly does that mean and what will it look like?
Well, it's going to be ship-based, and it's going to be a system of hoists and winches that can lift objects from very deep in the ocean. The problem is it's not fast. It has to be deployed by ship. It's got to be a vessel of opportunity, and it takes a while to get the thing configured and hooked up. So that's kind of an option of last resort, I think, at this point.
Right. One, we have to find it, right? That's the focus at this hour. You've got these 5 members on board. They're saying that they heard some underwater noises. Some describe it as banging. That can't be confirmed. What do you make of that development? It's been about 4 hours since they heard anything. What might it be?
Well, we want to remain hopeful, Marnie. I've spent years of my life underwater, and I could tell you the ocean is a noisy place. You hear banging and clicking and all kinds of sounds that you believe are human generated, but actually are biologics. In my opinion, if this were actually them, they would bang in a way that would be unmistakably them. They would bang out a signal, an SOS or something. Just mere random banging, I don't give it a high level of hope that that was them.
There was rumors that it was like a SOS type of thing. I have a video for that too.
The hope is, though, that they have 17 hours and 51 minutes left of oxygen, that they're alive, they're trapped in this submersible. They have to remain calm for very important and critical reasons to their own survival. What type of training, given your experience, do you go through to prepare yourself for an environment such as this against the clock?
The most training you can get is to make sure that the people are trained to remain calm. There are procedures for things like this when you're in that vessel. There aren't many options left to you to train for. But, you know, again, we want to remain hopeful. But as time passes, of course, the less optimistic we become.
Has anything like this ever happened before? I mean, not to my memory, but even within the military and submarines and people getting trapped, I mean, does this compare to anything you've ever experienced?
This is a good one here too.
Remember in 2017, the Argentinians lost a submarine, the San Juan, and that was a much larger vessel. And we had a pretty good sense of where it was located. And it still took a year to precisely locate it and figure out what happened to it. So yeah, these kinds of things sadly do happen periodically. It's happened to Russian submarines, happened to 2 American submarines. But as far as a submersible goes, I know of no other situation like this one.
What do you know about the provisions that they would likely have on board to survive for this long, given that they didn't plan to be down here this many hours?
I don't know much specifically, but there's common sense. This is a much larger submersible than most others, so they have a little bit more room to move around and to carry provisions on board. I know they would have had some water and some snacks, but beyond that, it's really about the air and about how long that air is going to last.
Bunny says, couldn't they pull the crew's coordinates from any device they may have on hand, such as phone, AirTag, smartwatch? No, they can't. We were watching that yesterday, and I have a video somewhere, I don't know which one it was, where one of the previous guys that had gone on that submarine, he said they had trouble communicating with the mothership. When you're that far down into the ocean, you're not going to be able to, like, I don't know, text, make phone calls, GPS, none of that stuff is going to work that far down into the ocean. I don't know. I wonder how far down it is that it stops working. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't. And then especially, there's no any radio towers there, but the GPS thing is not going to work deep in the ocean like that.
Talk about the technology, Captain Toti, that they're using on some of these Navy vessels to try to track sounds, maneuver through these deep waters, and look for things. Sonar is one. What are some other things that they're using to try and locate them?
Sonar is really the only thing you can use for a broad area search, whether it's a side scan sonar, which can survey the bottom. Basically, you like cutting the grass, but even that takes a long time. You've had to have some idea of where to look.
Thank you for watching.
Insurance guy, I've heard about that. I mean, I've watched UFO stuff in the past, and they believe people have, theorized maybe some aliens come from the ocean. It's unexplored. A huge portion of it's unexplored. Thank you so much for the Mandy L, thank you for the 7-month membership. Says absolutely love your channel, Mel. Thank you for resubscribing. Summer Butterfly, thank you for the membership. Chantel, thanks for the membership. Sailor Jerry Swallow, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. And Carlo Wilkerson, thank you for the super chat. Says send our country's alien ship into the Atlantic Ocean and bring back the Titan sub before the people die. Stop with the secrets. Use your technology. Thanks for the super chat. Let me pull this one up here.
Over the last few hours, we were hearing about tapping noises.
Yeah. Every half an hour.
Sources close to GB News are now telling us that it was an SOS. That is interesting. SOS is effectively a Morse code distress signal. So that puts more detail on it. Not just tapping, but if it was an SOS, then that shows that the passengers on board the submersible are still very much alive.
And can they be certain
and are calling for help?
Can they be certain they're from the submersible? This
is what we are understanding is happening. There are regular taps, an SOS signal is being sent, a distress signal. So that gives some hope because that clock is now ticking down. 24 hours oxygen supply is left. Maybe even not even that now.
And any indication about how deep down the submersible is?
Right. We also are hearing from our sources that last night 2 vehicles were sent down to where the submersible could be. Now, those vehicles could only go to 3,000 meters. The submersible, if it is on the seabed, is more like at 3,800 meters. They couldn't get below that. These vehicles both imploded.
Oh, gosh.
When they tried to,
They weren't
This
manned,
shows how
though.
complex and how difficult. The submersible, if it is on the seabed, is more like at 3,800 meters. They couldn't get below that. These vehicles both imploded.
Oh, gosh.
When they tried to,
They weren't
This
manned,
shows how
though.
complex and how difficult.
They weren't, man. Wow. Let me show you this tweet real quick, too. And I was watching a video this morning. There was this guy that goes on his, hopefully I can find it. He goes even deeper than this submersible. He has I think it was like, I don't know if it was obviously man-made, but like homemade type of, I don't know what kind of qualifications, but there's this guy that goes even further deep and it has less space than this submersible. He's like sitting there, like laying back, his legs are up and he's like sitting like laying in a There's like less space. Only one person can fit in there. He's a film director, I think, and also does this on the side. Okay, 3 vessels arrived on scene Wednesday morning. The John Cabot has side scanning sonar capabilities and is conducting search patterns alongside the Scandi Vinland and the Atlantic Merlin. Canadian P-3 aircraft detected underwater noises in the search area. As a result, ROV operations were relocated in an attempt to explore the origin of the noises. Those ROV searches have yielded negative results, but continue. Additionally, the data from the P-3 aircraft has been shared with our U.S. Navy experts for further analysis, which will be considered in future search plans. Okay. That's what happened last night.
This is. We are also understanding that wives.
Oh, maybe. I think Evelyn. I think, James Cameron, you guys were saying in the chat? Yes. That sounds like it. I'll see if I can find that video. We can skim it because I thought it was good.
The passengers, I don't know how many of them, whether it's 2 wives, 3 wives, because there's 5 passengers on board.
Yeah.
But there are wives waiting on a ship for their loved ones, desperately hoping for good news. Now, what is also interesting, sorry, got lots to tell you here.
No,
there is a British firm called Magellan. Now, they say they are ready to help. They are very much on standby. They are working full time to secure the necessary air support to move their specialist equipment and support crew to the North Atlantic. Now, Magellan have what's called these ROVs, these remotely operated vehicles. They can go as far down as 6,000 meters. That's crucial if the submersible's at 3,800. But there seems to be a bit of a dispute going on because there are claims, we understand, that the US Coast Guard, for some reason, has not yet approved their involvement.
Right. Because my understanding, and like I said, this is very much breaking news, and it is exclusive to GB News through a contact of the channel. Both of these deep water salvage companies, Ocean Infinity and Magellan, both British-owned, were 3 to 4 days away, but their equipment could have been flown over by C-17 US military transport. As you say, Pip, the US Coast Guard said they wouldn't endorse that, but now we understand that Biden is involved, the President of America is involved as to whether these resources can be...
So, I don't know if it's interesting, but kind of messed up when all this political stuff comes into play and like this back and forth and approval shit when time's not on your side, you know?
Enacted.
Just get on with it.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, budget is not a concern to these. But budget,
well, it shouldn't be. But why else would it? Why else would it be blocked?
Wealthiest country in the world. What are they thinking of?
You know, if it was 3 to 4 days away. I mean, this submersible has been missing since Sunday. You would think they would get all the help they could in as quickly as possible because, as we were saying earlier, let's just say, fingers still very much crossed, that this submersible is located. If it is on the bottom of the seabed, and that's 9 Empire State Buildings, you know, it is a long way down.
Yeah. We watched this video yesterday on Twitter that somebody posted to show us visually the depth, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And Dim in the chat said, Mel, why is everything being done so slowly? I'm so upset at this. It's been 4 days already. Why was all of this not done 2 hours after the signal lost? Why are all these people so unprofessional? So one of the things that we found out yesterday when we were reading an article, it's been reported that it was at 9 something in the morning that the submersible lost contact with the mothership about an hour and 50 something minutes into the submersible going down. The mothership, it was reported that they didn't report them missing until 8 hours later, around 5 something, close to 6 p.m. So that took away a lot of time. The other thing too is what they were talking about. These things that they're trying to get out there, this equipment, it's like super heavy and complicated. The ocean is just so huge. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, it's not easy to I don't know. It's very, very complicated, I guess. The chain of command thing, I agree with you. I think it's bullshit. And people can get lost in that whole chain of command bullshit where people's lives are on the line. It's really annoying when people get caught up in that shit. You know, you would think for emergency situations, you wouldn't go through that stuff, you know?
Eat it. You've got to bring
And
it up.
I don't know if it's like an ego thing too for the U.S. or something. Is it an ego thing? They want to be the ones to look up on top. They don't want somebody else coming out doing them or something, you know?
Up.
Yeah.
How on earth are you going to do that? You can't send deep sea divers down. You've got to bring it up. You can't free them down there. The water pressure is humongous. So how do you do that? You need time to do that.
And the other thing too, there was another video I was watching that hopefully I have it queued up somewhere, where this guy was talking about, because we know from yesterday too that this thing is bolted shut. It's like a tube, and on both ends there's like a thing, I don't know, a door, I guess, or whatever. Not really a door, but like something covering each side, I believe. And it's like, I think he said 17 bolts, something like that. It's like these heavy bolts that go into it from the outside going in. So like them on the inside, even if they reach the surface, they would not be able to get out without assistance from the outside. And so they would still be losing oxygen inside of that tube.
There is less than 24 hours left now. That is the oxygen supply they have. And just to outline to viewers as well, how difficult it must be for these 5 gentlemen on board, however experienced they are, and we know some of them are very experienced, they are in a nightmare situation. It is very small, this
That's true. Well, Mo says, I think it's important to note that this is a private company, privately owned. This was not a mistake made by the U.S. Well, yeah. And I mean, this submersible didn't have really any kind of qualifications. The only thing that they went through, I think they went through NASA and Washington State or something like that. I forgot what. For the tube itself. Everything else, he said they got this from like regular going to the store, picking it up off the shelf. Everything else outside of that tube, even they used a gaming controller to drive the submersible, which I guess is not that crazy because we found out that the Navy has the Xbox controllers, which to me personally, I used to game. Those are my favorite controllers. But it was a wireless controller off of Amazon, I don't know if they went to the store. It was a little surprising to see that, and I also wondered if they even had a backup to that. Like if that controller goes bad, do they have other controllers that can connect, to the device? And I also wonder if this company is holding back information. The people on the ship, the mothership.
Possible. It's
maybe not giving all the details. Maybe afraid of being culpable. A lot of people think about lawsuits and stuff like that. They're afraid. So, I wouldn't be surprised because they waited 8 hours, man. I don't know if that would have made a difference or not, but I think it kind of could have made a difference because the window in the area that they could have gone is smaller with less time had they involved the Coast Guard earlier. I think, and wasn't there like previously that this submersible had lost one time? I think one of the submersible got lost, and it took them a couple hours to find it again. The communication with this thing is horrible. I have a video too of a guy talking about it that went on there before. He says they can barely communicate with the mothership. It's very slow. I think it's like a texting thing that they do, but it's very hard to communicate in this device.
Size of a bus.
Yeah.
It's very narrow. There's no seating area. Only one person at a time can stretch their legs out. There is one window, but you can't see anything because it's black. It's near freezing. It will be absolutely imperative that if,
Sophie says that Washington State denied involvement, and NASA says they only were consulted, not involved with the manufacturing or anything. Oh, shit. Wow.
Hope against hope, they are still alive, that they are keeping their breathing under control, their heart pressure is kept low. There's a 19-year-old lad on there.
So if you're just joining us, the headline here is that sources close to GB News have revealed that the banging noises that were reported are believed to be SOS regular taps, a save our souls Morse code signal, as opposed to random banging.
And those taps we understood were being heard every 30 minutes. Now, that would make sense because if they're trying to conserve energy, they're not going to be making them every 2 minutes.
And this is going to spur now the rescue, the attempted rescue operation.
You would very much hope so. But as we understand at the moment, there is still no sign of the submersible. The best hope is that they locate it on the surface. I mean, how much easier would that be?
Yeah.
Now,
to
we've
mount
got
the rescue then?
The submarine pilot, of course, is Paul-Henri Nargelet, a French gentleman. We understand that the French have sent a ship to the site called the Atlante. It's got a robot that can go down to 20,000 feet, and apparently this is ignoring the US advice to do that.
Why? Why is the US saying not to do it?
Obviously, what we're seeing here, ignoring the US advice to do that. But obviously, what we're seeing here, Pip, is there is a huge amount going on behind the scenes to try to rescue these 5 people. Sources have told GB News exclusively. The Americans told the 2 British companies, this is the Ocean Infinity and Magellan, to stand down.
That is so weird to me. I don't understand. I mean, I don't know, unless there's something I'm not getting. I mean, with the time running out, just take whoever the hell, even if you're, because I'm sure that takes massive coordination. And maybe you're like, well, we already checked this spot and your guys are checking here too. Who cares? Bring in everybody. Let them, with the time limit that you have. That is so weird. Like you guys said, somebody said in the chat earlier, the bureaucracy. Right? What the hell? I wonder if that's an ego thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, because we want to be the ones to find them, or we want to be the ones to look powerful, or whatever. We want to be whatever. And if somebody else finds them, we don't look good. Why?
It is believed that 2 of the wives of the men involved are on one of the ships.
Wow. People just want to help. It's coming together. All right. Before I fucking snap. Jeez. I'd be pissed. If that was my family, I'd be pissed. But, and I mean, at the same time, you know, they got themselves into this, unfortunately. They signed waivers and stuff, and I don't know, man. Let's check this out. I thought this was interesting too. They got a whole team over here set up. Use Nation.
I want to bring in Cap Around. He's a retired Navy captain, best-selling author of Turn the Ship Around. Oh. Captain, thanks for waking up with us this morning. I do want to begin with the breaking developments this morning that a Canadian aircraft has detected underwater noises coming from the search area, banging sounds. What's your read on that news, and how reliable is that air-to-sea detection?
Yeah, well, that's potentially very hopeful news. Banging on the side of the ship would be something that I would be doing if I were trapped inside the submarine. You want to make a man-made sound. The oceans are full of sound. They have biologics, whales, dolphins, shrimp, maybe groaning, maybe the wreck itself is making sounds, the wind on top. So it's if your cat escaped to the park and you're at the park and you hear, I'm listening for a meow, and coming from, and you run over to the tree.
When this guy mentioned shrimp, I was like kind of curious about that. I was like, shrimp make noise in the water? Apparently they do. Pistol shrimp sonic weapon, weird in nature. What's this? Yeah. Okay.
And you don't find it. So once the airplane hears the sound, we triangulate, say, I think it's about in this area, but maybe the size of a yard.
Okay.
And then we send an ROV over there. It's got a light. So now I got to scan very slowly because these things don't see very far. And I'm looking for this minivan sitting on the bottom of the ocean.
I can't imagine how meticulous of a search this is, how many people are involved in this. You served as commander of a nuclear submarine. We're at a critical point now as the oxygen supply is running out. And according to the latest math, there's now less than 24 hours worth of breathable air for this crew. What needs to happen at this point, and do you think that this is survivable?
We need to find them and then get them up to the surface. Now, the way to get them to the surface is, you saw the pictures of the C-17 and this Navy device. Basically what it is, it's a multi-mile cable on a big spool, and we can temporarily mount it on the back of a big utility ship. They have those kind of boats there. These are like oil industry ships or cable laying ships, and they've got that thing to Newfoundland. So that's all good news. We need to get it on the ship, get it out to the site. In case and when it's located, drop that cable all the way down to the bottom, get one of the ROVs to help hook it on the ship and pull the submarine back up.
And Captain, you're saying all this, how all the steps that need to be done, is less than 24 hours of oxygen enough to do all that you're saying needs to be done?
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tight. We're assuming they're still alive. There's a probability, and I think probably a decent probability, that whatever caused the original problem an hour and 45 minutes into the dive back on Sunday incapacitated the crew right then and there.
And you have been at these depths. You know what this pressure is like. Obviously, the passengers are in danger of losing their lives.
I wonder if they like the CO2 scrubbers. But I thought that when we were watching yesterday, didn't they say that was like, I don't know if it was this submersible. I thought they said there was like a thing, like some sort of timer safety device that after, I don't know, 14 hours or something, it'll automatically release the weights and rise up. I thought they had something like that. I thought that was a thing. I don't know. You got a whole new respect for shrimp?
But do you think they're already feeling and experiencing symptoms related to losing
like
oxygen?
That new emote, gangster shrimp. We should do a shrimp. I like that.
At this point?
Yeah, so we do not operate at these depths. They're 10
so you
times
haven't been that low. Okay, okay.
No.
Thank you for correcting.
Shrimp, no scope, 360, that's up. But, well, I was thinking of Call of Duty in the shrimp.
Pressure changes like you do in an airplane. It feels normal. But what they will be feeling is they're breathing in the oxygen, and so the oxygen levels are going down.
So he's talking about here, this is the thing, the CO2 scrubbers. They have this devices in there. So they have oxygen in there, but then you have to have a machine to get rid of the carbon dioxide, which we breathe out. We breathe in air and we breathe out carbon dioxide. And so they have something called CO2 scrubbers. I wonder what that looks like. CO2 scrubber. Let me take a look. CO2 scrubber. Oh, okay. Let's see, submarine. Submarine CO2 scrubber. Oh, this should look kind of serious. CO2 scrubber. I guess something like that. So if these things go bad, you're going to die, basically. CO2 scrubber. I don't know how many CO2 scrubbers they had in the...
Doing an airplane. It just operated these days.
Are already feeling and are in danger of losing their lives, but do you think they're already feeling and experiencing symptoms related to losing oxygen at this point?
Yeah, so we do not operate at these depths. They're 10
so you
times
haven't been that low. Okay, okay.
No.
Thank you for
But
correcting.
when you're in the submarine, you don't feel pressure changes like you do in
And this guy's a captain of what was he? A Navy nuclear submarine commander. He said he hasn't even been down there that low, that deep.
Okay, thank you for correcting.
But when you're in the submarine, you don't feel pressure changes like you do in an airplane. It feels normal. But what they will be feeling is they're breathing in the oxygen, and so the oxygen levels are going down. They're bleeding it in from the scuba tanks, but they're also exhaling carbon dioxide. So it's a poison. And so what's happening is by now they're starting to get headaches, you get nausea, you start to get confused, and eventually you poison yourself. So you want to remain calm, breathe slowly, relax, don't use any air.
Yeah, and no food. I think they thought they were going to be gone for just a matter of hours. So they're also hungry, no real bathrooms on board. It is absolutely unconscionable. Thank you so much, retired Captain David Marquet. Appreciate your expertise.
Oh, man. I mean, I hope they find it, but I also wonder if they'll ever even find this. Even if they don't make the time, will they ever find this submersible? Let's see. Aircraft detected underwater noise. I don't remember what this was here.
Some major new developments tonight in a story, the whole glimmer of hope. The U.S. Coast Guard says a Canadian aircraft detected underwater noises in the search area. The team working around the clock. 5 people inside that sub. Their oxygen supply is going to run out. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter joining us live with the new developments tonight. Leanne.
Mark, so many
Shrimp.
certainly hoping this is the sign.
Shrimp that can break glass. They can actually break glass? Isn't that gangster? Beautifully colored mantis shrimp is a tiny underwater vandal with a big reputation. Man. According to National Geographic, the mantis shrimp or pistol shrimp is capable of breaking glass. Wow. I want a mantis shrimp or a mantis shrimp, pistol shrimp. That's gangster. In fact, the shrimp uses its claw as a club to deliver a powerful punch and smash the shell of much larger crab prey, inflicting the force of a .22 caliber bullet. Wow. I think I want a mantis shrimp, a piston shrimp. I don't know how we'd store it or contain it, but
Been waiting for tonight. There are reports that searchers have detected banging coming from the area where the submersible disappeared, but there has been no confirmation on what may have caused the noise, but certainly it is the hope that it is coming from the 5 trapped inside. The frantic search continuing around the clock to save the 5 on board the Titan submersible that went missing on its dive down to the bottom and below the water. The U.S. Coast Guard scouring an area twice as large as the state of Connecticut. Planes dropping sonar buoys into the ocean to listen for sounds from the sub. A commercial pipeline ship now using a remote-controlled camera to scour deep underwater. The missing capsule could be as far down as the Titanic itself, nearly 2.5 miles. The crew's air supply expected to run out by Thursday morning.
We're just running out of time. I'm sorry to say that, and I don't want to portend any imminent catastrophes, but I think we're all scared about the way this is going.
On board is OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush. Over the years, he's talked about how each crew member gets involved on the dives.
We teach them how to operate the sonar, how to operate the communication systems.
Also among the missing businessmen, Shahzada Daoud.
He's a billionaire, I think, right? And that's his son. They both went on.
And his son Suleiman, renowned Titanic researcher Paul-Henri Najoulet, and British billionaire Hamish Harding. The crew
Man, that guy's brilliant. I thought the other guy was rich too.
Contact with the ship above an hour and 45 into their journey.
So all those things we're used to now with GPS and Wi-Fi and radio links do not work under the ocean. And then, the pressure is just immense.
Yeah, that's I hope that person's still here. That's the clip I was talking about. That stuff doesn't work underwater, especially in those depths. It's like almost like a whole nother world down there. I was watching a video too. They were showing all these sea creatures, fish, whatever, animal life under the water, like luminescent, I believe, right? Like they just, because there's no light down there. So I mean, it's pretty. I guess it's creepy. And then to think too, I guess sometimes people think that the ocean's just quiet, but apparently there's a bunch of noise and stuff down there.
Do not work under the ocean, and then the pressure is just immense.
Since its launch, the Titan has made more than a dozen trips to the wreckage site, with passengers paying up to $250,000. In a 2018 lawsuit, a former employee...
This is what I was talking about, to the lawsuit. This was interesting to me, too.
Up to $250,000. In a 2018 lawsuit, a former employee raised concerns about the safety of that sub at extreme depths. The pressure at 13,000 feet is 110 times that at sea level. The dispute was settled out of court. Tonight, friends and family of the missing holding out.
I wonder what that person's thinking now. That person, the former employee that did a lawsuit complaining about the safety of this submersible.
Probably will be a miracle, but there's still a chance. So I think we should use
Send me
every
some links.
resource available to at least try.
Officials say Navy experts are running further analysis on those noises heard in the search area to try to determine exactly what and where it was coming from. Now, even if the sub has popped back up at the surface, time is still of the essence as they are locked inside the vessel. It can only be opened from the outside, so their air supply remains one of the most critical issues. Leanne Suter, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Hello,
And the thing about the air, man, I don't even know if they really have all that air down there. The way this thing was being run, somewhat just the perception that I'm getting from the outside looking in. They got 32K watching. Who knows if there was really that much air in there? Or like there was one guy talking about like who did they even actually measure that amount of air in time with that amount of people inside? How many people does that air last for? Did they calculate that? Who decided that was 96 hours worth of air? You know? And the way they run in this thing, did they even have all that stuff, all that air in there? Let's see why. Okay. Let's see. Let's take a look. I'll send something on Twitter. This man was going to go with Hamish and backed out due to safety concerns. Ooh, this is interesting. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay, we'll get to this article in a second. Well, okay. Let me do the article and then we'll get to this video. I'm really interested to see what they have to say. Oh, and if you guys could hit like, please, I'd appreciate it. Helps out the stream and the algorithm and all that good stuff. Thank you. All right, so missing Titanic sub once faced massive lawsuit over depths it could safely travel to. Okay. Tour submersible went missing while exploring the Titanic wreck was previously the target of safety complaints from an employee of Ocean Gate, the parent company that owns the sub and runs tourist expeditions of the wreck. That employee complained specifically that the sub was not capable of descending to such extreme depths before he was fired. Damn. That's according to the legal documents obtained by the New Republic. According to the court documents in 2018 case, Ocean Gate employee David Lockridge, a submersible pilot, voiced concerns about the safety of the sub. According to a press release, Lockridge was director of marine operations at the time, responsible for the safety of all the crew and clients. The concerns Lockridge voiced came to light as part of the breach of contract case related to Lockridge refusing to greenlight manned tests of the early models of the submersible over safety concerns. Lockridge was fired, and then Ocean Gate sued him for disclosing confidential information about the Titan submersible. Wow! BL had sent me this link. In response, Lockridge filed a compulsory counterclaim where he alleged wrongful termination or being a whistleblower about the quality and safety of the submersible. Lockridge, in his counterclaim, alleged that rather than addressing Lockridge's concerns, Ocean Gate instead summarily terminated Lockridge's employment in efforts to silence Lockridge and to avoid addressing the safety and quality control issues. The counterclaim said, given the prevalent flaws in the previously tested 1 out of 3 scale model and visible flaws in the carbon end samples, this tube thing or whatever, it's carbon. I thought there was a name for it. Not just carbon, it was carbon fiber, I think. Carbon end samples for the Titan. Lockridge again stressed the potential danger to passengers of the Titan as the submersible reached extreme depths. The constant pressure cycling weakens existing flaws, resulting in large tears of the carbon. Wow. Non-destructive testing was critical to detect such potentially existing flaws in order to ensure a solid and safe product for the safety of the passengers and crew. The counterclaim also details a meeting at Ocean Gate's Everett, Washington facility with engineering staff where several individuals had expressed concerns over to the engineering director. The Ocean Gate CEO, Stockton Rush, which that's the guy that's right now in the sub underwater, asked Lockridge to conduct a quality inspection of the Titan per their complaint. Over the course of the next several days, Lockridge worked on his report and requested paperwork from the engineering director regarding the viewpoint design and pressure test results of the viewpoint for the Titan, along with other key elements. Lockridge was met with hostility and denial of access to the necessary documentation that should have been freely available as part of his inspection process. Lockridge initially verbally expressed concerns about the safety and the quality of the Titan submersible to Ocean Gate executive management, but those concerns were ignored. Lockridge identified numerous issues that posed several safety concerns and offered corrective action and recommendations for each. Lockridge was particularly concerned about the non-destructive testing performed on the hull of the Titan, but he was repeatedly told that no scan of the hull or bond line could be done to check for delaminations, porosity, and voids of sufficient adhesion of the glue being used due to its thickness of the hull. Adhesion of the glue being used due to the thickness of the hull. He was also told there was no such equipment that could conduct a test like that. After Lockridge issued his inspection report, OceanGate officials convened a meeting on January 19, 2018 with the CEO, Human Resources Director, Engineering Director Lockridge, and the Operations Director per the complaint. At the meeting, Lockridge discovered why he had been denied access to the viewpoint information from the engineering department. The viewpoint at the forward of the submersible was only built to a certified pressure of 1,300 meters. What? Although OceanGate intended to take the passengers down to the depths of 4,000 meters. This is huge. These families, if they intend to sue, I don't know how. I wonder with like lawsuits, right? Like when you have these waivers that you sign and fill out of liability to death, can they still get sued? I wonder if there's things in there that they, I don't know, that will still allow for them to be sued or not. I don't know. Okay, so this person here is claiming that the submersible was only built to a certified pressure of 1,300 meters. Again, I think he was, I don't know if this is the current version of what they were using. It sounded like they were doing testing and stuff and using like beta versions. But this is really telling. Certified pressure of 1,300 meters, although OceanGate intended to take passengers down to depths of 4,000 meters, Lockridge learned that the viewpoint manufacturer would only certify to a depth of 1,300 meters due to experimental design of the viewpoint supplied by OceanGate, which was out of the pressure vessels for human occupancy (PVHO) standards. OceanGate refused to pay for the manufacturer to build a viewport that would meet the required 4,000 meters. Wow. Wow. Waivers can be invalidated. Holy crap. That's what I'm saying. Like the materials that were purchased, because I think I retweeted this yesterday. This guy said he got it out of some sort of little store, some sort of camping store or some shit. Let me see. Okay. Controversy has since shrouded the journey as maritime experts and others question why the submersible, which was built using parts from an RV supplier, Camping World, and is controlled with a 2011 Logitech gamepad controller. Lord. CBS reported that was allowed to make commercial trips in the first place. Lord almighty. Lord. Oh, thank you guys in the chat. I see that. This is like shocking, man. Wow. I mean, I guess maybe it's not that surprising. I guess. I don't know. For reference, the Titanic is estimated to sit at the ocean floor at a depth of nearly 13,000 feet. Paying passengers wouldn't know or be informed about Lockridge's concerns, according to his complaints. They also wouldn't be informed that hazardous flammable materials were being used within the submersible. Lockridge expressed concerns about the Titan again, but OceanGate didn't express those concerns, and Lockridge was fired. The case between Lockridge and OceanGate didn't advance much further, and a few months later, the two parties settled. As of Tuesday, the Coast Guard said that 10,000 square miles have been searched since the Titan submersible went missing Sunday afternoon. 5 people are said to have been on board. Okay. Interesting article. Yeah. Wow. All right, let's check this out. Would-be crew member of missing sub on why he withdrew over safety concerns.
Now is digital marketing tycoon Chris Brown, who originally planned to join the Titanic tourist submersible, but pulled out for safety concerns. His friend Hamish Harding is among those missing on board. And first off, we got to say, Chris, thank you for joining us this morning. Our thoughts are with you, everyone on board and their families as well. And I know you were close with Hamish. Can you please tell us about it?
Yes, good morning. I think
apparently I see what you're saying in the chat. Who was that? I lost it. Somebody was mentioning Kohlberger, some update. I guess they found more DNA apparently. Kohlberger DNA matched to knife sheath found at Idaho murder's crime scene. I thought we knew that already. But it's coming out as new news. DNA taken from the cheek swab match. Okay, so they finally, because the DNA, they matched it initially, I think, to his father by genealogy or genealogy. I think that's how they did it. So I guess now they're confirming that it's his. Okay.
First of all, the thoughts are really much more with the family and his close friends and families, not just Hamish, but the other 4 people that are down on the sub. All of our concentration needs to be on that right now. You know, we've got lives at risk. It's the news this morning about them picking up sounds is good and bad news. In an ideal world, we'd have seen that the sub had come up to the surface and was bobbing around just undetected. If the sounds are coming from below the water, then that indicates that they may be alive under the water, but now we've got time pressures in getting them up to the surface.
Yeah, you know, time is definitely of the essence. And you say you were one of the first people to sign up for this Titanic tour mission. What initially drew you to join?
Well, it's being a sort of a modern day adventurer, interested in pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and places that people go. Hamish and myself are both on the Virgin Galactic program to go up into space, and Hamish actually went into space about a year ago with Blue Origin. And the Titanic's obviously an iconic wreck. And the Ocean Gate have put forward this program to go down and do a 3D scan of the wreck with the view to then being able to see how it's decaying so that the wreck could be preserved. And that's it. It's so the mission specialists, like Hamish going down there, would have the job of either scanning or they could be in charge of the communications up to the surface, stuff like that. So it's a chance for an expedition, exploration, and adding a bit of science into the situation.
And prior to signing up for the trip, what did you know about Ocean Gate expeditions?
Prior to myself signing up, very little. I was. It was one of these situations where a couple of guys who knew a lot more about the Titanic, and one guy was into shipping, was his business, brought it to my attention. I just thought, oh, that sounds like a great idea.
And you said that safety issues ultimately led you to pull out of the trip. What were some of those safety concerns that you had?
They did. I'm not really sure that this is the time to be going into that sort of thing. Why? I think the focus right now has to be on trying to rescue these people. It's not fair on the families and friends to be making speculation about what might have happened or how it happened at this point.
We can definitely understand that.
Yeah, but he was asking about his previous experience. Or I thought maybe I heard it wrong. I thought I heard him say the safety concerns. What were what happened?
And do you feel any apprehension about joining similar projects in the future? Because as you said, you are a modern day adventurist.
No. What you tend to do is, I mean, some people physically write it down. You think about all the risks that might be involved in whatever exploration adventure that you're going on. And then you see if you don't have an appetite for those risks, then you might not go ahead. Those people they all protect each other, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess he's trying to do that respect. But you notice, like, when you speak out and shit, the one guy that nobody wanted to listen to, they tried to sue his ass and fired his ass. One guy was trying to say a long time ago, hey, there's something wrong here. They try to shut him up real quick, right? Try and mitigate those by bringing in some expertise from outside. You might have other risks or dangers that could be mitigated by changing the time of when you go out there. I've very recently been out. I became the first person ever to get to the pole of inaccessibility in Africa. Very dangerous situation, but by choosing the right people to work with, timings, the equipment, we made it all work. So that's what you tend to do as an adventurer. what we tend as a group not to take into account very well is the effect on our friends and family. I know that from talking to my own family, and we fully understand the risks and we take them on board, but they haven't been so involved with the process, and they tend to kind of be left a little bit in the dark. And then they're worried, and unfortunately you get a situation like this, and it's just probably as if the bottom has dropped out of their worlds, and really do feel for them.
Yeah, we do as well. A lot of worry on the part of those fans.
Carla, I got that already. Leo, thank you for the 11-month membership. Thank you so much. Appreciate you as a mod and friend. Says love our Ikid Mel family. Thank you. Dilly, thank you for the 5-month membership. Thank you for resubscribing, both of you. Thanks for covering this, Mel. Yeah, no problem. And Raging Cajun, thank you for the super chat. So nice of you. Thank you. 20. Hey, Mel and chat, and the ones in the bushes like me. Don't any of you ever watch Shark Week? I used to watch it all the time. I actually like that. Shark Week. You would know about the depths and massiveness of the ocean. This is no diff than people paying to go to space. You signed a waiver. One of the things to that, I think we were watching this yesterday. One of the guys was saying that there has been more people to space than there's been to the bottom of that far down at the bottom of the ocean. That's kind of telling, you know. We watched this already. I thought this one was good too. I still have other links to go through.
The U.S. Navy is sending a deep ocean salvage. G. Michael Harris. He is a Titanic expedition leader and founder of RMS Titanic, Inc. So, Michael, first of all, what can you tell us about the people you know that are trapped in this submersible?
Well, one of the gentlemen that's in the submersible, a gentleman by the name of P.H. Nargelet, worked with him over the last 30 years. He was one of our dive masters at RMS, and he's just an all-around good guy.
And you've led multiple expeditions around the world, including treks to the Titanic wreckage. What can you tell us about the degree of difficulty, the dangers of these kinds of expeditions?
I mean, when you're out in the North Atlantic, it is, we only have a 3-month weather window, which pretty much goes from, the end of June to September.
That was the thing too. I think weather-wise, I think this guy might talk about it. This wasn't like the best time to go now to do this.
Where the seas are calm enough to actually be out there and able to dive, which right now it's really early in the season, so I'm not sure, why Ocean Gate went out this soon.
Right.
But, deploying subs in the water and spending all day, on the wreck and coming back, you're 6,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. You're 12,850 feet down. And so every precaution has to be taken at all times so that something doesn't go wrong, or at least mitigate everything you possibly can to ensure that nothing goes wrong.
And Michael, give us one example of the belt and suspenders approach, or the typical safety protocols that would be required for this kind of
This article right here, I was just kind of glancing at this. I went on Titan. It was a unaliving mission. A German who paid Ocean Gate to see Titanic wreck in 2021 says he was incredibly lucky to make it after one sub didn't work. There were electrical problems and a piece of the vessel fell off. A German adventurer who paid to see the wreck of the Titanic on the missing Titan submarine 2 years ago called the voyage an unaliving mission. Arthur Loibel, 60, dived 12,500 feet to see the Atlantic wreck site in August 2021, and he says he's incredibly lucky to survive. His story echoes much that has been learned about the Ocean Gate tourist vessel since it vanished on Sunday. Past reports highlighting how many components were purchased off the shelf. It has also been revealed that to have been uncertified to dive the necessary depth to reach the Titanic. Speaking to German tabloid Bild Loibel, recalls the first submarine they tried didn't work, and the second attempt dive had to be abandoned. He said parts fell off and the mission went into the water after 5 hours late due to electrical problems. Holy shit! I wouldn't even want to go in. Mobil suspects could be the cause of the Titan's disappearance. Electrical problems. Parts fell off and went into the ocean, bro. I guess it's really important too when you're gonna do stuff like this to kind of research. I mean, I'm not putting these people down or anything like that, but just a note to myself and everybody out there to try to research, because maybe they would have seen this lawsuit stuff, these safety concerns. I don't know, man. That sucks. That's crazy. This just sounds Ricky Dink. Because I remember I think the CEO, he was talking about that the only thing that's important is that metal cylinder. Everything else could fail, even the electric stuff. Problem is, those CO2 scrubbers, that stops working, you're going to die. German explorer Arthur. Okay, I think there's a picture of him, I guess. So 12,500 feet. He's pictured to the right. Oh, that's him right there. Oh. Hell nah, bruh. Wow. The German knows a thing or two about risk taking. He has previously traveled to the North and South Pole and flown over Russia in an MiG-29 fighter jet. But out of all his adventures, the Titanic was the most extreme, he says. He paid 100,000 euros and booked the trip through an English company that organizes special safaris. He says the start of the expedition was bumpy. The first submarine didn't work. Then a dive at 1,600 meters had to be abandoned. My mission was the 5th, but we also went into the water 5 hours late due to electrical problems, he recounts to the publication. Shortly before the sub was launched, Lobel says the bracket of the stabilization tube used to provide balance as the craft descends into the depths fell off the vessel. That was reattached with zip ties. That didn't worry me, he tells Blit. Why didn't that worry you? That worried me. Fuck, zip ties? As far as conditions inside the vessel, the adventurer says they were challenging. On his voyage, he was joined by French explorer Paul-Henri Narglot, a 73-year-old, and Ocean's Gate CEO and pilot Stockton Rush, 61. Both are currently on the Titan, have been missing since Sunday. Along with the British adventurer Hamish Harding and Pakistan nationals Shahzada and Suleiman. Okay, here it is. Up to 5 passengers can be taken on the 22-foot-long Titan. There are no seats, a single toilet. I didn't even think they had a toilet. I thought they said they had like a Ziploc bag with a black curtain pulled across for privacy. Damn. At a depth of around 3,200 feet, sunlight can no longer penetrate the darkness of the ocean. You need strong nerves. You mustn't be claustrophobic. And you have to be able to sit cross-legged for 10 hours. I got to find that video too of this other guy. That ship that he's in, bro. Where's that video, man? What's that guy's name? The actor? I mean, the director. I forgot. Maybe somebody will tell me. Oh, no, it's in my text. Yeah. I got to find that video because, shoot the screen. Okay, where's this guy at? James Cameron. Oh, I don't think I can play much. Oh, we gotta watch this one too. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, let me keep reading this. Maybe it's in my history. He was on a sub that got stuck. On the top, here's what he says. All right, it's gone. Oh no, here it is. I don't think this one I can really play much. I'll just skim through it. This was good too. Because 60 Minutes Australia, these people are always like, they've shut down my streams before. This is the actor, I mean the director. He goes deep water also. This is his machine right here.
Better?
Yeah, that's it.
How much room is there?
That's all the space you got. It's one person.
Get your feet towards you and get your bottom down. Yeah, that's it. And then you can lay into that position.
There we go.
And this one goes even further down, I think. Forgot how far down. All right, so back to this other guy. So he says you need strong nerves. You must be claustrophobic. You have to sit cross-legged for 10 hours. It must be hell down there. There's only 2.5 meters of space. It's 4 degrees. There's no chair, no toilet. When he did reach the Titanic, however, he described a sense of euphoria. With Lobel inside, the Titan traveled around the wreck twice. Ooh, and once even touched down on its deck. Interesting, because one of the theories that people are talking about is that this thing could be all the way down there by the Titanic. Like maybe they were traveling around the Titanic, getting close to it. Maybe they even landed on it. But no. They stopped communications 2 hours on the way down to the bottom. They stopped communication. I don't know if it was halfway. So I don't know. They couldn't have gotten to the Titanic willingly. Something must have happened when they lost communication. But that was one of the theories. People were saying that they think maybe it's just stuck in the Titanic or next to the Titanic somewhere. With Lobo inside, the Titan traveled around the wreck twice and once even touched down on its deck, he said, before making the return journey. German said he is closely following the news of the missing submersible and the search operations, which is rapidly running out of time. I feel bad. I'm nervous. I have a sinking feeling in my stomach. I was incredibly lucky back then, he told Blid. Like many, he is hoping for a miracle. For his next adventure, Lobo said he had hoped to fly into space, Lord Almighty, with the Virgin Galactic for $250,000, but after the drama surrounding the missing Titan vessel, he said, my whole pursuit of extremes is now in question. Some people like pushing the limits to the extreme. It gets them high. It's exhilarating. It's a rush. Okay. All right, there we go. We're caught up. Ooh. The Canadian Boeing P-8 carries 129 sonar buoys. French-American pipe-laying ship. Deep Energy is searching the last known position. They got this Lockheed CP-140 Aurora. Oh, God, how do you say that? Aurora. A Canadian long-range patrol aircraft used for anti-submarine warfare and maritime surveillance. Interesting. Sonar buoys can monitor up to 13,000 feet, 3,962 meters. Polar Princess Titan support vessel is still at the launch site. Yeah. Titan could be, I'll move myself out of here. Titan could be on the surface, but this main capsule is sealed by 17 bolts. and the 5 crew could still suffocate unless found. This thing over here is called the Curve 21. Operator, U.S. Navy. Crew unmanned. Speed is 2.5 knots. Maximum depth of 20,000 feet. Equipment has high resolution digital still camera, television cameras, and specialized salvage tools. Interesting. Magellan Argus Worker XL. Unmanned. 3 knots vertical, 2 knots lateral. Maximum depth 19,700 feet. Has HDTV video system transmitting HD SDI from the camera to the surface and salvage tools. If Titan has lost power, it's 3 British. Okay, if the Titan has lost power, it's 3 British and 1 French and 1 American occupants will be in total darkness. In temperatures of around 3 Celsius. Wow. As the doomed craft is rolled along the seabed by the ocean currents. That is sad. They even have a timeline on here. Prayer, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. It says 10. Thank you. Maybe it's been asked already, but why haven't they sent bigger rescue scientific sub down there? I'm not sure. They have ships and craft on the way, but it takes time. They're all over the world. They're all over the world, so I don't know. It takes coordination and time and travel, and a lot of these things are super heavy. So, I mean, the ocean is just massive. Canadian press conference? Let's see if I can find it. Oh, okay, let's see. No, I don't see.
Has been provided.
But we start with that.
This is the old press conference.
Board, along with providing.
I don't see anything new right now. Let's see. No. So yeah, the little brief timeline will go down that, and then we'll watch some of the other videos. Saturday, June 17, 7 p.m. British Summer Time. British billionaire Hamish Harding posts on Twitter and Instagram that he is joining Ocean Gate expedition dive on Titan submersible to Titanic's shipwreck. Sunday, 1 p.m. Titanic submersible begins dive to the wreck, launching from the support ship. The Polar Prince, about 435 miles south of St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. 2:45 p.m. vessel loses contact, which the time I was told it was in the morning. Maybe it's the time difference. The articles I've been reading, it said 9 something in the morning. 2:45 p.m. vessel loses contact with the surface an hour and 45 minutes into a normally 2.5 hour dive to the bottom. They're almost there, I guess. Where the Titan lies. Titan should communicate with the crew on the surface via text message. 3 p.m. the Titan sends last distress signal. What? 3 p.m. Titan sends last distress signal. I haven't heard that they sent a distress signal. 10:40 p.m. alert raised with U.S. Coast Guard. 2 p.m. Monday is all these people joined up. Okay. promo video.
Their goal is to document the Titanic with 4K video and state-of-the-art laser and sonar technology, creating a high-res 3D image of what remains of the ship.
This will no doubt be the best experience of my entire life.
Hmm.
A home game joystick.
So this is the former Titan Traveler.
From a gaming system, a home game controller. You steer the ship with a controller, with a joystick from a gaming system, a home gaming system. There's special training just to learn how to
Another conference?
get into
Where?
it.
Okay, let me see what you guys are talking about.
The people on board the Titan and their families are our focus.
Okay.
We care deeply.
All right, let me find this. There is some type of press conference or something. I don't want to use
banging sounds on Twitter. I'm not saying it isn't it. I'm not saying it is it. We have a process.
Careful, don't get canceled.
We have a process. I'm not going to just start playing random sounds, random tweets off the internet.
He pissed.
A recipe for complete and utter disaster. So
I know WFLA has it. I just didn't want to use WFLA. I wanted to find the
ask
source
yourself,
of it.
where's this coming from?
I'd like to find a source of it because these people sometimes try to claim videos and stuff. This is let me see. U.S. Coast Guard.
Hopefully, it's field and journalism about
Right.
her of this press out. 2:30 is right around the corner. I have the side of your. To them again. I am a huge
coming. Please monitor our website for details. Welcoming live event AP. Maybe I'll have to use them. It's on Fox. I got it.
We remain focused.
Yeah, I just when I a lot of the times I'm trying to deal with sources, direct sources, and I try to avoid WFLA. I want to protect the stream, the integrity of the stream. So let me see. Let me rewind here.
In Newfoundland and Labrador and in Canada. On behalf of myself, Chief Joe, and everyone at Miabokek Horizon Maritime Services and Horizon Maritime Services, I want to say first that our thoughts and focus remain with the crew of the Titan and their families. We wish to thank everyone involved in this rescue mission, especially the U.S. and Canadian Coast Guards, the organizations that have made their marine assets available, including the French government, Technip FMC, Atlantic Towing, DOF, the many private companies who have dropped everything at a moment's notice and without hesitation, and the various crews who are dedicated to bringing the search and rescue mission to a successful conclusion. In addition to the Polar Prince, we have also mobilized the Horizon Arctic to add vessel support for this mission. We acknowledge and thank our client, ExxonMobil, who has without question given the vessel the time and space needed to respond to this incident. We also thank Premier Andrew Furey for his continuous offers of support from the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. The marine industry in this region is no stranger to responding to difficult incidents. We work together to ensure every possible effort is put into bringing people home. The people on board the Titan and their families are our focus. We care deeply about their well-being. All of us here in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, the United States, and around the world are unified in this work. While the United States Coast Guard, in cooperation with the Canadian Coast Guard, is leading this search and rescue effort, our critical role remains in a support capacity. It has been a very difficult few days for the crew and families of those on board the Titan and the Polar Prince. The Polar Prince captain and crew have been steadfast in providing support during this very difficult time. We have been supporting the Titanic expeditions for several years. The Polar Prince, a 72-meter vessel, remains at the Titanic site participating in rescue efforts. The vessel is an iconic former Canadian Coast Guard icebreaker that has been upgraded with advanced technology and provides research and expedition support services to clients, primarily in the Arctic. Miabukek Horizon purchased the Polar Prince in 2021. The Horizon Arctic is also involved in this mission. The 94-meter vessel is one of the most powerful and versatile offshore support vessels in the world. Often working internationally, this Canadian flag vessel has recently performed rig moves, offshore wind infrastructure installations, and seabed surveys before returning to Newfoundland and Labrador for a seasonal project this summer. The Horizon Arctic was en route to the site on Sunday and then returned to port in St. John's to pick up deep water equipment. Late last night, the Arctic crew loaded a U.S. ROV, which, thanks to the U.S. military, arrived by air to St. John's Airport late yesterday. The vessel departed the port of St. John's at 5 a.m. this morning and will arrive at the Titanic site tomorrow morning. We are very aware of the time sensitivity around this mission. Our crews and onshore team are experts in their fields and will continue to support this effort in every way we can. We remain focused on contributing to the search for the Titan crew and continue to hold out hope that they will be located and brought home safely. Chief Joe.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you all for being here too as well. My name is Chief Mizell Joe. I'm from the Miabukek First Nation on the south coast of Newfoundland. And I can tell you that our people are very concerned for the crew of the Titan. We're proud of the Polar Prince, its crew, and work that it does. This remarkable vessel, we have no doubt that the captain and crew have been handling themselves with utmost expertise and professionalism throughout this difficult time. Also want to thank Sean and the support team here at Horizon for all they're doing to support the search and rescue operations. I've been in constant contact with the operation team of the company and have been reaching out to prayer groups across the country to bring hope to this effort. We are praying for our friends on board the Titan submersible. We want them to come home. We want them to come home. And we want them to come home safely. We ask everyone across Canada and the world to pray with us that we can find and rescue the Titan. Thank you. Walalio.
Can either of you tell us whether the Polar Prince has picked up any sign of life? I know they're doing sonar scanning as well. We've heard about the banging noises that the sightings picked up. Has the Polar Prince heard anything? Do you have any sense from your technology?
So the U.S. Coast Guard's leading the search and rescue effort, as you know. We're taking our direction from them, and all the communications are flowing back through them. They had a fairly in-depth conference about an hour and a half ago, I think, and they've covered all that, so we have nothing further to add.
What does your crew say about the conditions out there? How difficult is it to operate? Are they going to stay indefinitely?
The North Atlantic is always a challenging place, especially in the region that we're in. The weather is not overly significant at this point, but it always presents a challenge in the region.
Did you have any concerns about working with Ocean Gatekeeper? The Polar Prince lost contact with the submersible on Sunday morning. Are you realistic? How optimistic are you that we will find
Can't hear anything.
and rescue the men on it?
The equipment that's been mobilized for this is the finest in the world, the most capable in the world. We have to hold out hope. I think, as you're aware, there's still life support available on the submersible, and we'll continue to hold out hope until the very end.
Can you say anything about what, if any, communications you had when the dive started, and that period of time that we don't have any information until a
All I can tell you there is all protocols were followed for the mission.
Sean, technical details from the Coast Guard about what's going on. Can you tell us about your staff on the ship? What are they telling you? What is it like out there? What's the mood on the ship? Any of that you can provide us?
These are extremely professional and experienced crews. This is an unprecedented situation, but I can assure you that they're handling their responsibilities very professionally and fully focused on trying to find the submersible and bring those people back safely.
Did any family members go out on the vessel? Have any family members gone out on the vessel?
Some questions. Are the families aboard the vessels right now during the search and rescue operation?
That's a question I can't answer.
What support are you giving them?
The U.S. Coast Guard's leading the search and rescue effort, and all of that's being funneled through U.S. Coast Guard.
Sean, Horizon Maritime does a lot of different things in the world. This is one of them. But I take it this community, this exploration, it sounds like they're colleagues. They've been here for many years. They're friends. They're family to you guys. What is them? You do a lot of things, but what is this situation like?
Yeah. Core values of me Albuquerque Horizon Maritime Services and Horizon Maritime Services is customer focus, and we're focused on all our customers and all the various missions we operate, and making sure that they're carried out with the utmost safety.
How many trips have you done with Ocean Gate? Did you have?
Is there anything out there that's capable of lifting this thing up from the depths that it's presumed to be and bringing it back to the surface?
There's a lot of variability around the question you're asking there, but the equipment that is on site and coming to site is the most capable of the world, and some of that equipment is certainly capable of reaching those depths.
How much time do you think there's left to be able to, if you were to have success, how much oxygen is left? How much time is there left to be able to actually put these people out and get them out alive?
There's variability around that question as well, Patrick. It's difficult for me to give you any more detail than the U.S. Coast Guard's already provided in their briefings.
Can you say exactly what time your vessel, the Polar Prince, launched the Titan? Exactly, specifically what time Sunday morning?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Can you tell us about the sense of urgency last night with getting the gear off the aircraft, down here with the police escort and onto the ship and out of here? Can you talk us through that with people who are working?
Yeah, I've been in the marine industry since a very young age and seen a lot of different situations, and I've never seen equipment of that nature move that quickly. The response from the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. military, the folks at the airport, the people here, various companies were involved in the mobilization of that equipment to the Arctic. It was done flawlessly.
Can you give us more details about what kind of equipment that was?
It's a deepwater ROV.
And can you tell us how long will the Polar Prince stay out in that search area with the crew that was, I guess, expected to only be out there for 8 days or so?
How long can it stay out?
How long will it stay out during the search effort?
It'll stay out until the search is completed.
Sean, can you talk about what, if any, communication the Polar Prince and the vessel had before it missed the timeline that it was supposed to be before surfacing at the sea level? What, if any, communication did the Polar Prince have with the vessel before they knew it was missing?
There was regular communications up until a point, and then I think, as you're aware, their communication ceased.
Can you just expand on what regular means? Was the crew doing well? Was everything going as planned? Was there any moment where they communicated that they were in any sort of distress or having any sort of issues?
I'm not aware of any details around that.
And at what point did communication cease?
Right now, but there's been a lot of concerns raised already about the safety of this and what Ocean Gate was doing. Did you consider that when you partnered with Ocean Gate?
Look, I mean, Ocean Gate runs an extremely safe operation.
Please.
Our full focus right now is
I got you on the check.
That submersible located and getting those people brought back safely.
At what point did communication cease?
When they were diving to the Titanic at some point during that.
But do you have a timeline?
Oh yeah.
There is a timeline. I don't have it on the top of my head now.
Mama Noot. Oh shit.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. We're in constant contact with the crew of the Polar Prince. Our emergency procedures kicked in immediately. Our emergency room next door is staffed 24/7 with a group of extremely capable people, and there's live communication with the vessel at all times.
On your ship? How many crew?
We've got 17 crew on board the ship. That's it. Thanks.
Why did it take so long for the emergency? Thank you. Gotta go.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay.
Yep. One thing
That was a little pressure from these people.
Escape suit, in and out of that. It's a very tough thing to get into these kind of warm weather coveralls that will float you if you have to bail from a ship or escape from a submarine. Beyond that, no real training. When we went down, it was just there were communication problems on every trip I've taken. Of the 4 separate dives I'd taken with Ocean Gate, every time there was a problem with at least sporadically communicating with the surface. And again, I don't think that's their fault as much as just that's the nature of the beast. When you're going 1,000 feet or 13,000 feet underwater, you're going to lose contact for a while.
Before we went, we had never seen the sub. We didn't know anything about it. There's very little information on the website. I didn't know at that point that you drive the thing with an Xbox game controller. I didn't know that the ballast was, used construction pipes. And then you get the tour, and Stockton Rush, the designer of the sub, the CEO, explains to you that all of this stuff, the lights and the handles and the propellers, these are off-the-shelf parts because, well, not only are they inexpensive, but they're tried and true. They're mass-produced. The part we care about is the pressure vessel, the capsule where the people are. And that he designed with NASA and the University of Washington. And that, he says, is as locked down as it gets. His exact words were, everything else can fail, the lights can go out, the propellers can stop, but you will still be alive. You are bolted in from the outside. There are 18 bolts in a circle around the hatch. And by the way, they only fasten 17 of them.
Shit.
The 18th one is way up high, and they say there's really no mathematical difference.
Damn, bro, you see his facial expression too? So the 17 bolts that they use, it actually has spots for 18, but they only did the 17. He's like, don't worry about it. Mathematically, no, it's all good. Don't worry about it. They just get inside.
Still be alive. You are bolted in from the outside. There are 18 bolts in a circle around the hatch. And by the way, they only fasten 17 of them. The 18th one is way up high, and they say there's really no mathematical difference. So
he's like, bruh.
They say there's really no mathematical difference. So you're right. The really nightmarish scenario is that they are alive at the surface, bobbing away, running out of air, and unable to get out.
Yeah. Leslie, thank you so much for the 17-month membership. Says hello, Mel, and chat. Hit the like button. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for resubbing. Appreciate that.
Strikes rule. If 3 things we had.
Almost.
Once in a lifetime opportunity.
Who are the typical clientele for these missions? We've had people who have mortgaged their home to come and do the trip. We had one gentleman who had won the lottery.
Ocean Gate, the company behind the current underwater mission, successfully reached the Titanic for the first time in 2021. It's a dive that takes you down 2.5 miles to view the ship's remains in a carbon fiber submersible. The cost? $250,000. David Pogue from CBS News was a bit nervous when invited to go along last year.
an experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical.
Amazing.
Where do I sign?
We spoke with Pogue today about his expedition.
I was really terrified the night before, mainly because there were so many things that I thought could go wrong. I was reassured the more I got to know this submersible, how many safety checks, how many checklists, how many inspections. By the time we got in the sub, I was really excited.
Oh, take your shoes off. That's customary.
The inside of the submersible is about the size of a minivan, seating 5 people, no chairs. It takes 10 to 12 hours to go down to the seafloor, tour the Titanic, and return to the surface. At the time of his trip, Pogue reported on some of the pieces of the sub which seemed improvised. He questioned OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, who is now reported to be on the missing vessel.
We run the whole thing with this game controller. This submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-rigness.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it. The pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
There is no GPS underwater. The surface ship guides the sub to the shipwreck by sending text messages.
My expedition last summer, on the 4th day, a team went to the bottom and got lost for 2 or 3 hours, meaning they were driving around in the dark and couldn't find the Titanic, but they were still in communication with the ship. I will say that OceanGate is a safety culture, and they have this 3 strikes rule. If 3 things go wrong, no matter how tiny, the dive is aborted.
Look at that. Titanic director James Cameron has taken a similar dive. He went back to see the Titanic's remains for a second time following the release of the film in 1997. This time, he took along its star Bill Paxton and filmed it for the 2003 documentary Ghosts of the Abyss.
It's dangerous. You'd have to be thoughtless not to really appreciate just how deep you're going.
Pretty cool.
I always tell people that the first hour, I actually thought I was going to die.
Wow.
And I was afraid I was afraid I was going to die. And then the second hour, I was afraid I wasn't going to die because it was so miserable.
Wow.
Awful story. We're
Damn, that's crazy. Wow. Man, I guess that's it for today. Well, we got this here too. Oh, no, I saw this already. Let me see if there's any other good clips. I think that's it for today, though. We'll just keep an eye and follow. Maddie wants to go swimming. That's why she was asking me. Like, she's been wanting to go. If the weather hasn't been great today, it actually looks okay to go. So she's been wanting to go swimming. Okay. Let's do this one, actually. See how much we can play of this. I meant to play this clip. Let's do this one, and then we'll call it.
Just before we came on air, the US Coast Guard updated the world on their search and rescue Harding. They're said to have fewer than 40 hours of oxygen remaining. So could this be a rescue mission impossible? Well, the remains of a Titanic, where some are speculating the sub could be stuck, rests 12,500 feet beneath the surface of the Atlantic. At that depth, no light from the sun reaches the ocean floor. It's pitch black. Temperatures are near freezing, around 0 to 3 degrees Celsius. Water pressure is 380 times greater than on land. That's the equivalent of being trapped under a 100-story tower made of lead. And to illustrate just how deep it is, 12,500 feet is about 9.
The Melly trial, I was thinking maybe we can come back tonight, maybe, and just skip all the parts that were, because today I heard, I don't know what else was going on. I heard the attorneys were fighting this morning, but I heard that was kind of spicy. But then there's just a lot of breaks, a lot of pauses like yesterday. I don't even know if there's any good witnesses. So I might come later tonight after I hang out with Maddie and stuff. If you guys want to go, just skip over the trial. We don't have to spend a bunch of time, like waste time like yesterday.
Empire State Building stacked on top of each other. Well, joining me now are explorer and friend of British businessman Hamish Harding, Yannick Mickelson, retired US Navy submarine captain David Markey, and Dr. Michael Yean, who's a journalist who became the first TV correspondent in history to report from the wreck of the Titanic. Well, welcome to all of you. Yannick, let me start with you, Yannick, if I may. Obviously, a devastatingly difficult time for you and everybody who knows any of these 5 people on board. How are you feeling about this? Because obviously Hamish, a great explorer, done many very risky things in his time. But this, as time goes on, does look to be potentially like a real tragedy unfurling.
It's looking bleak. I'm terrified for the worst news now. I have a little bit of hope, but they have all the odds against them at this point, and it will be a miracle if they can recover the submarine or submersible with a crew that's alive.
What kind of man is Hamish, for those who don't know him?
Hamish is larger than life. He loves exploration. He's been to space. He's been to the deepest point of the planet. He's been to the South Pole. And he's also mentored me a lot in my career as an explorer. And this is why I'm living close to the North Pole, to train to be a polar explorer and survive in the polar climate.
There are videos of, I think, Hamish and others talking about this vessel, this submersible. The thing that struck me was that for people who were so wealthy, it doesn't seem a particularly sophisticated piece of machinery, that the risks are pretty high, actually, if something was to go wrong. Would that be a fair assessment?
I myself haven't seen this submersible, but with any expedition, there's a large amount of risk involved. If you want to be the first person to do something today on planet Earth or in space, you have to accept risk, because if it was easy, it wouldn't have been done.
David, you've been a retired United States Navy submarine captain, so an expert in this field. I want to play a little bit of what I was just talking about, a little clip of some of the people who are on board talking before about it, including Hamish.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World.
So, David, look, they're sort of being quite jokey about it. Obviously, this is now a very serious situation. Did they underestimate perhaps the dangers, or is that just always part of the risk, do you think, of this kind of expedition?
No, I think you could do a better job mitigating the risk. We know from a long history of operating submarines in the Royal Navy, the American Navy. I've been underwater for 87 continuous days. What it takes to keep a submarine operating safely underwater. We have, first of all, starts with the design and the building of the submarine. We track a bolt from when it was manufactured, and say it's chromium, magnesium alloy, to when it's installed on the submarine, every step of the way, because we want to make sure that the exact right bolt with the right material is installed in a right bolt hole. This all costs money. And then when we operate the submarine, if we were in port for a while, we don't just go out and submerge in deep water and see how it goes. We test everything at the pier, then we go deliberately 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet. We walk around with flashlights, checking things. It is daunting, and this is why these submarines cost so much money. So I admire people pushing the boundaries, and throughout the human race, these people have contributed a lot. And some risk is unavoidable, but I think you should try and do everything you can to minimize avoidable risk.
David, what do you think is the most likely scenario that's happened here?
Well, for the families and friends, prepare yourself for bad news. The communications abruptly ended, and the submarine has not shown up on the surface. So to me, that signifies likely that the crew has been incapacitated. It could be simply that the batteries died, but in this case, I would expect to hear someone banging a wrench, for example, against the titanium end bells of the submarine. But we're not hearing anything. So I worry that there could have been a fire on board. They could have somehow depleted their oxygen way early.
This was 22 hours ago, to before the sound thing. I mean, that one video we watched, or whatever, the guy said, I think the lawsuit guy said that there was flammable stuff on the submarine.
And not realized it. They could have flooded somehow, a fitting corroded and ruptured, and water came in. And when you're that deep, you said 380 times the pressure at air. That's just a number. It's hard to conceive how that happens like this. The water would come in so fast, they wouldn't experience anything. They would be crushed, they would be drowned, they'd be asphyxiated, and they would feel no pain.
What is the difference between a submarine and a submersible?
A submarine has a big motor, a big engine, and a propeller that drives it out of port. So it's on its own, leaves port, leaves Norfolk, goes out to sea, drives 1,000 miles, submerges, and operates. A submersible has small maneuvering propellers, so it's towed out to the side of the Titanic. It's released by the mothership. It can drive down, hover around the wreck, uses those propellers because there's currents down there, so it uses those propellers to make sure it doesn't get swept into the wreck or entangled in the wreck. And then when they're done sightseeing and the time's up, then they come back up to the surface.
Well, thank you for that expert guidance, too, because I think a lot of people are a little bit confused. Dr. Michael, you know better than most the difference. You've been on a submersible in 2000. You went down there for ABC News. You were the first TV correspondent in history to report from the wreck of the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean. We've got a little clip of this, I think.
As we approach the stern of the ship, we're suddenly caught up in a strong underwater current that pushes us towards one of the gigantic 21-ton propellers.
Oh my God, look at the size of these things. Oh my gosh, so are we stuck or what?
Oh.
As this graphic shows, we appear to be somehow wedged beneath the wreck of the stern.
A scary moment for you. Does this bring back pretty awful memories of what happened to you and what could have happened?
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty sick right now. And agree with the lieutenant. The two things that come out at me right now is the loss of communications, because even when we were stuck down there, our pilot, who was a former Russian MiG pilot, was piloting our three-man sub, much smaller than the one that's currently in this situation. And he was able to communicate with the surface ship, the research vessel, the Academic Keldysh, on the surface. I couldn't understand what they were saying. It was all in Russian, but nevertheless. And then the second thing that stands out to me, Pierce, is, as the lieutenant pointed out, if it had just been a failure of communications, then that pilot would have brought that thing up to the surface immediately. So, I mean, we can speculate endlessly. I hate doing it because lives are at stake.
I'm really sorry.
I
can see
what that feels like. It's
yeah,
an awful feeling to be stuck under there and be utterly hopeless. It's not easy to get out of there.
I can see the emotion there in you. That this is obviously, and indeed also for you, Yannick, because Dr. Michael, I guess you must have had a moment when you were in a similar situation where you thought you may not get out of it, right?
Yeah, more than a moment. The better part of an hour. And being a scientist, of course, I'm a professional problem solver. So my first instinct was, number one, to hope nobody in the cabin would panic, because we had been told by the captain of our ship before we went down that he told us a true story of a gentleman who was found himself in that situation, and in his panic went for the escape hatch to open it up. It's right above your head. And of course, that was the end of it, because as the lieutenant said, the pressures down there are enormous. I filed a story for 2020 and then Good Morning America. And just to illustrate how powerful the pressure is down there, we took some styrofoam cups, and the cup came back about that small, and all the air had been squeezed out of it from the pressure down there. That brings it home. It's a very hostile environment, very cold, very high pressure. Yes, for the better part of an hour, I kept thinking, well, how could we get out of this? There was another Russian sub in the vicinity, and I thought perhaps it could tow us out, but of course, it's not feasible. It's not AAA, comes tow you out of the mud. And I just ran through the checklist of things in my mind, and I finally came to that moment, that brick wall, that utter sense of hopelessness. And the words that came into my mind were, this is how it's going to end for you. And you have to understand, I've been to the North Pole, the South Pole. I've covered the Persian Gulf War for 14 years, ABC News. I've been all over the world. I've been in harm's way everywhere. But those words came into my mind, and I'll never forget them. This is how it's going to end for you. And I thought of my wife, Laurel, and thought I'd never see her again. Just by the grace of God, Victor and his skill managed to weasel our way out of that big propeller. It's a big propeller. Our ship was very small. You have to understand. It's a huge propeller. Our ship is small in comparison. We just got trapped in the blades. But if it weren't for Victor's heroic efforts, I wouldn't be here today to tell you about this. But it's just terrible. It makes me sick.
Well, incredibly emotive description there from someone who really does know what they may. I mean, look, you had a miracle escape. We can only hope and pray that something may turn up here. We don't know, obviously, what's happened. And until we know for sure, there's hope. And they would still have enough oxygen left if indeed they're still alive. And we can only hope and pray that does happen. And Yannick, for you and for everyone who's a friend and a family member, our hearts go out to all of you. And we just hope and pray that there is a miraculous ending to this.
Wow. Crazy. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna head out for now. I may be back later. We'll see. I mean, if you guys want to do the trial thing, we could. I'm gonna try to find out from whoever's been watching it to see what they say about today. What? Oh. Wow. This is a really interesting tweet that Kelly sent me. We'll talk. I'll read this and then I'll head out. Titanic sub-oxygen level. The 5 occupants only have 19 hours of oxygen remaining. This was posted earlier. But many people have been asking a dark survivalist question. What if one of the occupants died, and would that extend the oxygen supply for the survivors? The answer is most likely no. The presence of a dead body in such a situation could actually accelerate the consumption of oxygen. The decomposition process of a body consumes oxygen and produces carbon dioxide and other gases as byproducts. Additionally, a dead body releases various gases, including methane, ammonia, and sulfur compounds, which can further contaminate the air and deplete the available oxygen. Wow. Therefore, the presence of a dead body in an airtight room would contribute to the depletion of oxygen, making the situation even more dangerous for the surviving people. Wow. All right, so yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. My theory is imploded as well. Somebody asked, when did the communication cut off? It cut off about halfway down. It didn't reach the bottom before the communication cut off. It was halfway there. So, Rabbit, how you doing? Hope you're doing good. But yeah, I'm gonna head out for a little bit. I'm gonna eat and gonna go to the pool. It looks a little dark outside, but it's still okay. So I'll see if I can take her swimming for a while because she's been asking me for 2 days now, but it was just raining and stuff. All right, so yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. See you guys later, probably, possibly. Bye. Bloop, bloop, bloop.